Have you ever looked at K-pop and found that many things that are considered normal and even necessary are actually the most useless things ever existing on Earth? Some even find the points about to be mentioned in this video controversial and toxic, as instead of doing the idols good, they do more harm to not only the individual member, but also to the dynamic among groupmates in an act. Number 1. Photocards. Surprised? Even I was taken aback when finding out that photocards are said to be among the most useless things of K-pop, since they have not only been around for the longest time, but also among the signature traits that set the K-pop culture aside from others like US, UK, J-pop, and more. Plus, collecting photocards is also deemed a special hobby rather than an ordinary type of collection, because idol pictures printed on these cards are not published elsewhere and only distributed randomly rather than buyers, aka fans, passionate collectors can pick the bias they love. Basically, photocard collecting is a fun yet also challenging activity for its 50-50 nature. By that, it means because fans can never know if they are spending a huge lump of money for the idols they stan or for some other members. The curiosity and excitement is always there when fans unbox the album and get their cards revealed. However, there are also countless points and even drawbacks that photocards bring about, making it be called among the most useless inventions of K-pop. According to one opinion that garnered lots of attention on Reddit, it didn't make sense to her that lots of people spent a huge amount of money on albums just to have pictures of their favorite idols printed on plastic cards. Of course, the photos were pretty and limited, as most management companies wouldn't post or allow their artists to post the pictures used for photocards online, but still, the OP couldn't get the hype around collecting photocards just for their being pretty and scarce. That was not to mention how fans can just print out other pretty pictures of idols on plastic cards themselves. And especially in the era of technology, they can also save pretty pictures of idols on their phone and use their bloodily expensive high-resolution phone screen to admire the idols as visual in case they can't make cards. As the post just touched on the surface, the OP mainly focused on the pretty side of photocards, and didn't mention in depth about the scarce side of these items, which according to many other people were way more useless and toxic. Since fans can't always receive the pretty photos of their bias, they would find others to trade for their favorite cards, and as time passes, this gives birth to a so-called black market for photocards where some cards are considered rare, based on the popularity of the idols at different time and thus being sold at ridiculously hefty prices. Of course, as there are lots of rich K-pop fans who often go extra lengths to do things for their bias. For example, passionate fanboy of Jennie who just spent thousands of dollars to put up a dinner invitation to her. Such expensive cards can still be traded. In fact, according to Rappler, collecting photocards is now considered a pricey hobby, as certain cards can only be obtained at a certain time and a certain quantity, and for this, many have tried to save a bunch of money just to have some idol pictures printed on a plastic card. The second major point making photocards a useless invention of K-pop comes down to the fact that fans have multiple times bought the albums just for the cards rather than the music to increase the probability of getting the card of their bias. And as a result, countless albums were bought just to be tossed away after fans have found their favorite ones. The epitome of this was how NCTzens left several big boxes of NCT's album in the street after taking out all the photocards. And considering the amount of money, gray matter, labor hours, and many other things put into the making of these albums, people couldn't help but criticizing both fans and the act of being wasteful. What's even more ridiculous was that, to avoid getting condemned for being wasteful again, many so-called fans decided to donate the albums to non-profit organizations, in the name of helping people in need to have good music to listen to. However, the people in need were reported to only feel annoyed because 1. They didn't listen to music, 2. Those albums just took too much space, and most especially, some K-pop fans were disguising their dumping action as a sweet and generous action. The third point making photocards among the most useless things in K-pop was that, besides doing harm to other fans, the society and environment, fans are seemingly not knowing that they are even doing harm to themselves. Also because at the end of the day, they still fell into the trap of money-thirsty companies, who put nonsense pretty cards into the albums to increase the album sale. Number 2. Fansigns. A bit different from photocards, fansigns aren't a thing only in K-pop culture because in the West, people also do the same thing to interact with fans. However, when it comes to idol fansigns, things are a bit unnecessarily complicated and useless. According to one popular opinion on Reddit, the first and foremost reason making fansigns useless is how fans often need to spend a ridiculous amount of time and money to have fortune smiles upon them, which means fans must buy lots of albums to luckily get the one with the fan meeting ticket, and it's obviously not worth it. Meeting idols in person is undeniably fun and is a joyful experience, but considering how fans must often go extra lengths to enter the fansign, the whole thing just made no sense. In fact, it made even less sense when fans can only meet idols in several minutes, and for foreign fans, fansigns are nothing more than a daylight robbery because it was always like a circle of flying to another country, either meeting the idols in person just to say hello I love you, or making them say cringy things since not all idols understand foreign language, and then moving on. That was not to mention the worst case where the staff members were literal Karen and only there to ruin the vibe. By that, it means they would urge the fans to move on swiftly, and fans can only meet their idols for seconds. Needless to look anywhere far, at BTS's fansign, there was one girl coming in last, and was only allowed to interact with Jungkook for 15 seconds. Even Jungkook himself was shook and asked her to stay, however, the staff kept pushing the girl until she agreed to move on, humiliating the person who had spent heaps of money supporting her idols just because she was the last one in line. Sometimes, not only the staff, but even the idols were not enjoying seeing their supporters. Because considering the case of Boy's 24 Swayoung, where he straight up called his fans annoying and accusing them of having stinky breath that always made him want to puke, it's obvious that there are chances of other idols feeling the same but not explicitly saying it out loud. Number 3. Ending Fairy. While it's interesting and to a certain extent also touching to see idols breathe heavily after giving their all to the performances, fans are now asking all broadcasting stations to get rid of the ending fairy thing because 1. It only creates awkwardness and an unauthentic vibe, and 2. It amplifies the discrimination toward less famous members in a group. At first, ending fairy was a term coined by fans after seeing Chaeyeon and Irene look like fairies with perfect hair and perfect visuals, even after dancing like crazy for their performances. Especially for Chaeyeon, who was said to start the trend and make fans can't get over her iconic ending scene back then, because she looked so fine and surreal. However, things gradually took a turn for the worse as time passes, and from something fans would look forward to, seeing to tell if their idols had given them all to the performances, it has now turned to a scripted part of each stage where the group would finish their performance, fix hair and makeup thoroughly, and be ready to pose if the camera chose them for the ending fairy of the day. On one hand, this means fans would always see the finest version of their idol, and because these moments are pretty and rare, they can capture and print them out into postcards. However, many believe the downsides are overweighing the good side because everything feels forced and fans can't really tell if the idols have tried their best based on this brief ending moment. Secondly, because all members are now aware of the ending fairy and deliberately posing for it, less famous members in a group would feel hurt if they are never chosen by the cameraman, amplifying the negative feelings between them and the famous ones of the group. In time, this is said to potentially lead to bullying and resentment among group members. When this happens, not only the less famous members suffer, but the group as a whole also bear the same fate. So, do you think these 3 are the most useless inventions of K-pop? Or some people are just being too negative about them? Comment down below to share your thoughts with us. Also, remember to like, share, and subscribe to BeBoss TV for more interesting K-pop content. Thank you for watching!